The film starts in a tent in the middle of a forest where a carpenter lived. He had no family. He used to live alone and work there. He has a talking horse. And this carpenter builds a wooden boy one day and he named Pinocchio, and he was quite afraid that he has made a boy with effort. One day a fairy appears and gives him a wand with which he must mend it. That was fixed fully and she was pleased with his effort. She offers him a present and casts a spell before leaving. Pinocchio comes to life in this way. Carpenter could not believe his eyes after seeing this. He gets overjoyed at the prospect of having a son. Carpenter recognizes Pinocchio as one of a kind character. As a result, he does not let him go very far so that no one can harm him. He only lets him play outside of his home. Pinocchio befriended at the horse, and the two used to converse, also have fun. Carpenter is visited by a detective one day. He says, "I think you have something special that you don't show everyone." Pinocchio and the horse hide somewhere during all of this, but they were both paying attention. Suddenly, a sound of gunfire can be heard from afar, and the detective flees. Later, the carpenter finds Pinocchio, who is hiding with the horse in a storeroom. "I too want to see the world outside." Pinocchio tells the carpenter, "I am bored sitting here like this." The carpenter says that I will let you have when the time is right, but this is not the right time for you. Pinocchio ignores him and proceeds to go with his horse. Later we observe the owner of a circus conversing with his two assistants. His assistants were a cat and a fox. With the cat fired his gun after a while, as was his habit. It was the same noise that prompted the detective to flee after hearing it. They were debating what they should do, call numerous people at the circus. As a result, they make a lot of money while a horse becomes uncontrollable. From there, he and his carriage begins to flee. Bella, the circus owner's daughter, was also present in this carriage and she began to make noise as a result of her fight. Pinocchio was nearby with his horse when he hears Bella's screams. He starts chasing her. Pinocchio manages to control the horse and bring the carriage to a stop. Meanwhile, the circus owner and his assistant arrived. He feels happy to find that his daughter is safe, and he gets shocked when he sees Pinocchio as a living wooden puppet. After viewing him, he devises a scheme to bring Pinocchio to the circus. Many people will come to visit him, so he makes Pinocchio this offer. Pinocchio is excited about the offer of working in a circus. Later, he informs the leader that he will inquire of his father about this. He cannot make this decision on his own. Pinocchio returns home and tells his father the entire incident, and he says that he wants to work in the circus, but his carpenter will not let him. But Pinocchio compels him to go by saying he will be back soon and won't be staying alone. Carpenter agrees and Pinocchio and his horse join the circus. He becomes quite well known in the circus and a large number of people comes to see him. The circus then travels to the main city. Pinocchio amuses everyone by performing antics on this horse. Everything is happy as a result of this. After watching this, the owner thinks, "Why do not we move out of the city too?" Later, he tells Pinocchio that everyone likes him and that we must go to the other place. We can become renowned in this way, and Pinocchio becomes ready for it. But his horse was not prepared for this, and the recognized Pinocchio's warning that we should not go too far in this direction. Pinocchio, on the other hand, does not agree and prepares him as well. As a result, they begins to travel, and Pinocchio becomes famous as a result of his uniqueness. The circus posters start to appear all over the place, and a large number of people had come to watch Pinocchio. In this way, the investigator discovers a poster and devises a strategy to apprehend him. After spending quality time in a city, the circus team was looking forward to their next show. Bella enjoyed singing and was practicing her skills. Pinocchio has feelings for Bella and decides to tell her. Pinocchio's horse also advises him to tell Bella about everything. Bella listened to her father commits the same night. He was telling his assistant that Pinocchio would make them wealthy. Later they will leave him, and Bella grows concerned after hearing this. Pinocchio approaches her and tells her that he likes her, but she ignores him. She advises him to leave the circus as soon as possible. Pinocchio is concerned that Bella will not like him, so she has asked him to go. Pinocchio's heart is shattered and he left alone to wonder. Meanwhile, the fox and the cat approach him and make fun of him. "You are just a wooden man with no feeling, despite the fact that you are human." Carpenter, on the other hand, has been looking for Pinocchio and intends to find him. Pinocchio sits sadly because he disagrees with their statement. Meanwhile, a joker appears and says that if you want to be a real boy within the mountains, there is a fairy I know. She has the ability to turn you into a human. The fairy was first saw at the start of the movie. Pinocchio has been given life and he is overjoyed to learn this, that he can grow up to be a real boy, and he tells his horse about it. Fox and the cat also hear this all and later Pinocchio lives with his horse. In order to find the fairy, and the fox and dog plan to fool Pinocchio on the way and to make money from him in order to locate the fairy. While on this travel, Pinocchio comes across a tent. There were two people present and Pinocchio's horse was quite sharp. He informs him that he does not believe there is a fairy inside. Something may have gone wrong with us. It was discovered that there was a cat and a dog inside. The cat points his rifle at Pinocchio as the horse pulls him away. They barely make it out alive and Pinocchio recognizes them as the same fox and cat, and he regrets not paying attention to his dog. Later the horse and Pinocchio ignore this and continue on their way. They come upon the massive mountains where the fairy has met in some way. Giant stones begin to fall on them along the path and they can barely move further. Following their progress, they come across a lovely castle. The fairy resides in a place and Pinocchio requests her to turn him into a human, but the fairy claims she won't be able to. After being depressed, Pinocchio goes on his way. When fairy's parrot approaches here, he asks, "Why don't you help him? This isn't the right time." According to the fairy, Pinocchio with the horse was returning. In the meantime, the detective and his team arrives. Pinocchio hides with his horse in order to listen in on his talk. He was telling his team that the circus chief puts on big show, and while the audience is watching the show, he snatches their horns from behind. Pinocchio gets shocked when he hears this, and the detective informs his team that Pinocchio conducts their big show. "Pinocchio, I believe, is this mastermind behind it all." Pinocchio has not done anything like this before, and he tells his horse they should go to Bella and informs her that his father is a criminal. Pinocchio's horse stops him, reminds him that we have previously had many problems. We won't be able to go again because Pinocchio does not hear him, and he goes to Bella since he is worried about her. He gets caught by the detective before he can reach her. Despite his inability to do much, Pinocchio begins to scream loudly. Detective now takes out his special handkerchief and places in his mouth. Meanwhile, Pinocchio's horse appears and saves Pinocchio after defeating everyone. He later takes Pinocchio to a desolate area. He understands that he should stay there and that he'll return after a task. Pinocchio remains for a time, but he does not have much patience. He continues on from there, approaching Bella and inform her that your father is a criminal, and Pinocchio has a shock there. That Bella already knows this is all. The Pinocchio becomes raged to know this, that Bella might have been involved with him. Meanwhile, the owner arrives and locks him in a room. It is discovered that the carpenter has also arrived. He was also caught and the owner threatened him by saying, "If you don't do anything tonight, I will kill your father." Pinocchio's horse, on the other hand, arrives in the city while searching for him. There he meets Bella, who informs him that the owner is not her real father. He simply said that he has tracked me down from my childhood. Later I discovered that he is guilty for wrongdoings, but I am unable to stop him. I have never gone along with him on any of his wrongdoings. Later he informs him that Pinocchio and the carpenter have also been caught. Later he appears at a circus with Bella, and Pinocchio instructs him, "Don't worry, just do whatever I say." The show begins when the day returns to darkness. Pinocchio performs very well with his horse. Meanwhile, he abruptly comes to stop and tells everyone the truth about the owner. "He used to rob your home when we were performing." Pinocchio is accompanied by the other workers. In the meantime, the detective arrives at the place and hears this all. When Pinocchio's horses left him, so she could tell the detective the truth that Pinocchio had done nothing wrong. The circus owner becomes upset. In order to save himself and depart, he sets fire to the circus. Everyone gets up and starts moving around. Everything was severely burned. Bella is stuck in the fire while everyone else is trying to save their life. When Pinocchio notices this, he jumps into the fire in order to save Bella. He saves Bella, but he is trapped in the flame himself. Later, his horse notices this and saves him by going into the fire and bringing him back. When Pinocchio emerges, too, he has passed out. Pinocchio was not restoring his senses, and Bella cries a lot while sitting with him. As her tears fall upon him, he gets a life. This time, he does not wake up as a puppet but as a real human being. Meanwhile, the fairy arrives there and tells Pinocchio that you have proven that you are human with a pure heart. That's why your wish has come true. The owner of the circus is also captured. The detective was quite happy. Bella looks at the handkerchief of the detective in his hand. She brings out the same handkerchief from her pocket as Secret reveals that basically the detective is her real father of Bella. The owner of the circus also confirms this. As Bella discovers that the detective is in her real father, she hugs him. Later the owner goes from there and the detective used to handle this circus. Pinocchio and his horse still perform there, and the movie ends here. Stay with us, stay connected, and thanks for watching.